Shock Treatment the movie is rated PG, but Shock Treatment Minute is rated F for
Found!
We're going to spend this time discussing the movie in gory detail, and along the way we'll talk about adult content and use adult language. Consider yourselves warned. Welcome to Shock Treatment Minute, the podcast where we break down shock treatment in excruciating detail 1 minute at a time. I'm one of your hosts, Leandra.
And I'm your other host, Kelly.
And today we have a very special minute planned. It is the one and only time that we'll be discussing minute 4 of shock treatment.
It's true. After this, we are going into the Disney vault to take that section of the movie out of the film and destroy it.
It's true.
Yeah.
That's how that works.
I'm gonna feed it to Walt Disney's frozen head. So
You're gonna have to baby bird it, though.
yeah. And then he'll wake up and be like, why is there chewed up film in my mouth? Anyway,
There's
hi
film?
guys.
I guess that if we were going to do this, it would have to be on, like, some sort of film. What are you thinking?
Well, I mean, I picture the Disney vault as an actual vault with reels of film in it. I mean, there has to be reels of film in it,
yeah,
right?
but, yeah, I guess that's fair. I don't know why, but I thought that you were talking about our podcast, spitting that into his mouth, which I feel like would be so much harder and so much worse.
I was gonna cut a section of the movie out of the film and just. Was this shot on film, do you think?
It was, and I can tell you that at least up until recently, there were really only a couple of surviving, like, 35 millimeters of it, and
they're in great condition, right, Leandra?
oof. I mean, I will say that I have seen it in 3 different ways. When you're showing this, you can either have a digital copy, and sometimes people even go as kind of low tech as using like a DVD or whatever. Or if you have a very good in with somebody, you might be able to get the Library of Congress, like, archival reels of it, and those are in great shape. But for most of the time, if you are using a reel of it, it's going to be one of 2 that they send out, and they are in, like, laughably bad, just, like, they're spliced.
Someone probably chewed on them.
They look chewy. I remember when we did the shadow cast many years ago, I was talking with the projection person, and he was like, I just took it out of the package so I could see what was going on and, like, ran it to just make sure that there wasn't anything funky. And I'm going to have to sit and babysit this reel because there are so many splices, and some of them done by people who don't know what they're doing, that if I walk away for even a minute, it could fall apart.
Yeah.
So that was exciting. That also means that just the quality of the shot is not great. It's very red. Like, more red than usual. Now, why is that?
I don't know the science behind it. Listeners, feel free to write in, or I suppose I could Google it. But basically, it's a reaction to the, like, print. It's a reaction the print has to, like, being exposed to non-ideal conditions. I've seen, because I see a lot of movies on film. I'm lucky enough to live near the Colonial Theater that shows a lot of film movies, and also other theaters in the area. Anyway, some of them are nearly unwatchable. Conquest by Lucio Fulci is one that really sticks out in my mind because it gave me a horrible migraine because it was just a red mess. Just trying to make out what was going on screen was awful. And it was, of course, really really damaged. Lots of, like, just graininess, and was, like, worn away by the sands of time. Crazy ass movie, though. Conquest. Conquest, of course, being a Italian. So Fulci was a famous Italian, like, horror director, and this is sort of a departure for him because it's like a weird fantasy film about this guy, like, going on a magical journey with a magical bow and arrows, and there's like an evil witch or something, and yeah. Fulci usually like makes like zombie movies, so like I said, quite a maid, I guess. Anyway, so minute 4 of shock treatment.
Yeah,
Conquest minute will come later.
very, very later. So, but before you spit this baby bird style into Walt Disney's mouth, what happens in minute 4?
We're so normal. Okay, so we see the audience continuing to take their seats, including Brad and Janet. They sit to the audience's right side of the seats, toward the aisle. The camera slowly zooms out until we're seeing the same view we saw before from overhead, but now instead of 5 employees, we are seeing, well, technically 6 employees, but anyway, instead of seeing that, we're now seeing a full audience, and then it zooms back in on the sign, and the heart is now in opaque red, still neon, but the window in the middle is now opaque and red. Then the camera zooms all the way in until the screen is red, and then we see a wall of DTV monitors, specifically 24 monitors are visible in the shot, and they all just say DTV at the moment. The overture ends just as the TVs switch to say Proudly Presents, and then we get a full screen of what's airing, which is the title card of Denton Dossier, which is 3 red stripes diagonally from the bottom left to the top right corner of the screen, a white background, and then white text on the middle stripe that says Denton Dossier, and that, like, I don't know how to call it. It's like the kind of text that you would see on like a file. Help, Leandra, I'm too young. What is this called?
It looks very much like a typewriter face.
Yeah, but like specifically that, like, what would make that? Remember how like files and like labels used to sometimes have like a 3-dimensional
like a label
print?
maker sort of like pressed in look.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, it's that font, and it is accompanied by a little chime. Then we cut to an all-white studio, and we saw a little bit of this set last minute, but now we see it in its full glory. It is letters spelling out Denton, giant letters. The D is red gingham with a woman sitting at a sewing machine inside, like in the middle of the D. E is made of hedge, and a gardener figure is up on a ladder leaning on like the middle part of the E. These are capital letters, by the way. An N is made of all brick, and there's a little triangular jail door on the bottom, like, triangle of the N, and a police officer standing next to it. The T is, like, shiny. It's like mylar or a similar material, maybe sequin, but it's American flag print, so there's blue and stars at the top of the T, and then vertical red and white stripes on the bottom. And there's 2 girls in blue on either side of it, dressed like cheerleaders. Then the O is wooden with the red jacket man from earlier sitting inside it at a desk on the phone. And then the N is my favorite. It's made of shop windows. It has blue and white striped awnings on the top of each like point of the N. And then like the rest of the N is like a shop window with product displays. There's a dressed mannequin on either like vertical stem, and there's a woman, the woman with the red coat from earlier, standing inside the lower triangle of the N with her foot popped. And that is the Denton sign. As the camera pans down, we see our pink ball cap girl from behind again. And now we see that her jacket says DTV on the back. There's a little chime, and she turns to face us very close. And we see that she is wearing very shiny, like pink red lipstick, pink eyeshadow, a very 80s green and pink chain link kind of type necklace, and then she's got badges on her chest and left arm. She begins to sing with a big smile. You'll find happy hearts and smiling faces and tolerance for the ethnic races in Denton. Then you cut to a close shot of the gardener guy in the E. He is wearing a suspiciously tight yellow polo, a yellow hard hat, and a single blue gardening glove a la Michael Jackson. And he's holding hedge trimmers, of course. He continues in like a Texas accent. You'll find a ramblin' rose and a picket fence. And then it cuts to the sewing lady who's in the gingham D. She has very 80s blue eyeshadow on, red lipstick, her hair is very coiffed, and she has a yellow checked vest over a long-sleeved purple shirt, blue pants, chunky gold earrings, rings, big chunky gold rings, 2 on her right hand, 1 on her left, gold bracelets, red nails, the most 80s outfit I've maybe ever seen, top to bottom. And she is sewing something in Pepto-Bismol pink, and she says, tenderness and that's the end of the minute.
And this is an amazing minute. Like,
It's a great
truly.
minute.
I'm sad that nobody else is going to be able to watch it.
I know, but, I like to keep it for myself, it's personal. But while we have it here, we should talk about it. And there's so much to talk about.
Truly. I think that my first impression of this set is it feels very much like a Joanne Fabrics sponsored. It's like the kind of overwhelming but exciting feeling of going to Joanne when it was still around and seeing the different types of fabric just all laid out and like going, this could be anything. So for me, that's what that kind of evokes. But then as soon as you see everybody's like super big smiling faces, it feels very like so big and borderline freakish that it becomes a little scary, particularly with Janet's mom who's doing the sewing. She looks freakish to me in the way that she is just like kind of mindlessly happy.
I guess I could see that. I think in general, it's an amazing, like, satire of the, like, white picket fence type of town. And yeah, like, Brian Thompson said that he wanted this set to just, like, encapsulate Denton perfectly. And I think it did.
I think so.
I think it is so creative and so visually interesting. I just love it. And it's the introduction to a lot of major characters, this scene, 2 of which we met up close and personal, so we can talk about them in a second. But before we do, Leandra,
Yes.
it's time to rate our first song.
Hooray!
Which is, of course, the overture. No lyrics, but a damn fine overture, in my opinion. What do you think, Leandra?
Honestly, there is something about this song that I think is so fun. I sometimes will just put this overture on as I'm getting stuff ready because it really satisfies some sort of part of my brain that needs an overture in my life. I don't know.
It's fair.
It's just very fun.
So what's your rating?
Out of 7?
Sure.
Am I gonna keep doing this?
Yeah, let's just do 5.
Oh,
for
okay.
This time, yeah.
Okay, so we're starting new.
Mm-hmm.
Like, new podcast, new rating scale.
Yeah, exactly.
Out of 5. Yeah, so out of 5, I would say this is like a 4.5 for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to give it a solid 4.
Okay. I think that's fair.
Yeah, I really like it, but it is, at the end of the day, just an overture. But yes, excellent song. Great start to the movie. Really sets a fun, like, punchy tone. And then we launch right into the second song, which, by the way, the Cap girl, as I keep calling her, from now on I will call her Neely, because the character's name is Neely Pritt. Betsy Brantley is the actress. She has a really lovely voice. I think this is our only chance to really hear it.
I think so.
But actually, she sings quite well.
Yeah, I think that not only is she doing a great job of setting the tone vocally for what's going to end up being, just spoiler alert, I think my favorite song in the movie, but when we talk about freakish smiles, she has the biggest one.
Yeah, well, for sure, like, everyone in this opening sequence has these big, like, lobotomized, blank expression, gigantic smiles. And I think that's intentional. It's really, really unsettling that they're all like that, you know?
It's Stepford Wives, it's Smile, it's it's so many different unsettling horror tropey sorts of things, and all of it's good.
I would fucking love it if Sky Riley covered some of the songs in this movie.
Oh, that would be so good. But I think that's just because we're gay.
No, I love the music in that movie. Smile 2, we're talking about now, listeners.
Yeah, it is really good
I would
music.
genuinely buy that album. I wish they'd press it on vinyl. But anyway, so I just wanted to shout her out on that. In general, I'm so excited for this opening number and opening song.
Agreed.
Tolerance for the ethnic races is the first moment I laughed out loud in the movie, and it's still, I think, the first really joke in the movie, and it's very funny. Um,
I have a lot of feelings about that line. It's one of those things that, like, I think that if you very clearly see that it's satirical in nature, then it is absolutely fucking hilarious. I just feel really awkward for the people who, in a very conservative town, might hear this and not get the satire. But that's kind of the problem with satire, is that there are some people that do think Starship Troopers is actually a really great pro-army
I mean,
movie.
I don't think that's a problem with satire. I think that's a problem with idiots.
Yeah, and I think that's what I'm getting at.
I don't know who could ever watch Shock Treatment and be like, "Wow, Denton, that was just an all-American town from the heartland." Like you would have to actually be lobotomized, I think, to not pick up. I think, as David Spade said in Tommy Boy, they're laying it on pretty thick. So
Fair. That is fair. And I would say that if you were watching the sequel, prequel, equal to the Rocky Horror Picture Show intentionally,
yeah,
then then you probably know a thing or two about comedy. And
I could teach you a thing or two, actually.
I thought you ought to know fat chicks policy.
Make one time exception for myself, and then oh man, oh we do have fun.
It's so good to laugh again.
But yeah, this is it's such a strong start for the film, and between like the song, which is great, and the visuals, which I've already talked about, I just don't know how people overlook how like visually fascinating this film is, because there are many shock treatment haters, and I'm not saying you have to like shock treatment, but I can't believe they don't at least give it its flowers for that, you know?
And yet again, props to Brian Thompson, who made this just such a feast for the eyes.
Yeah, in one of the interviews, Mike Malloy talked about how he and Brian Thompson were going for like a comic book style look, and that's why there's like really saturated colors, and a lot of the scenes kind of look like comic panels.
I
So
can
that's a
see
fun thing
that.
to look out for, yeah. There's one song in particular that we'll get to someday that really reminds me of a comic strip.
Doesn't include the line, "It's time for bye bye."
It does indeed. It also includes incest BDSM, so stick around, listeners.
We we have a lot in store
We
in the
do.
coming minutes, so strap in, strap on, strap off.
I know I will.
Doesn't we
The
all?
strapper. Yeah.
But I really don't have much in the way of notes for this. I really just kind of sat back and absorbed the beauty of this shot. We do get to see Brad and Janet for just a little bit longer, but
hmm
this is before Brad and Janet are important to the plot, really.
Yeah, but there's a couple things I wanted to talk about. One is just generally, I want to try and keep track of the programming on this channel slash town. And I think we're seeing the first of several television programs in Denton Dossier, because we saw that opening card, which I always thought Denton Dossier was more like that, like, kind of news show that we're going to see in a minute, right?
I thought so.
So then, is this part of of the Denton Dossier show?
So that is very much a good point. I don't understand why they had Denton Dossier as the title card in this. I don't think that it adds anything to the movie, and in a very real sense, subtracts logic.
Well, I mean, I don't mind them having the title card in. I just don't. I don't know why it happened before this scene. Like, what is this? Because this is an actual, like, performance in the world of the movie. This is an actual performance that's being broadcast. What is this? Do they do this every day?
I would assume so.
Okay.
And I was thinking, I know last minute I was talking about how this was like a well-oiled machine,
Mm-hmm.
but thinking back, the two characters within this that had a little bit more hustle to get into place were Janet's parents, Emily and Harry. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering if they are maybe not special guests, but they are not normal main cast members.
Yeah, that was gonna be my next question. What the fuck are they doing here? you know, in this scene? Because, like, all three of the other people in this Denton sign, or I forgot about the cheerleaders, but even so, like, I think that at least three and possibly five of the other people we see are employees of DTV.
And I think so. And it just now occurred to me, picture this through Brad's eyes. He
Mm-hmm.
walks in and he's like, "This is not a place I want to be." And Janet's just like, "Shut the fuck up and sit down." And then you're watching, and that's weird. My in laws are up there. Why wouldn't anybody tell me that?
I know. And I know that in real life, I understand the concept here. We're getting some, like, introduction to some real, like, drank the Kool Aid type Denton residents, you know? And these are all, like, fairly significant players in the film, especially Janet's parents. But, like, in the universe of the movie, I don't under and I'm not it doesn't necessarily have to make sense. I think this is all a little bit obviously removed from reality. But I am it's the nature of this podcast to discuss these types of quandaries, so here we are.
Yeah, and I think that this is going to be the beginning of us also starting to talk about the quality of time within this bubble of the universe.
Yeah.
This is from people entering to starting this. You have a real sense that there really hasn't been any pause in time or speeding up or anything to indicate that more time has passed than what we have seen. And of course,
Mhm.
that will change throughout the movie in very weird ways. So, in a kind of similar way to Rocky, the
Mhm.
time warp doesn't begin until much later.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's interesting. And I think we should talk a little bit about Janet's parents. And yeah, I guess so, just really quickly, just to get this out of the way. We have Janet's father and mother in that order. And then the people in the red coats, as I've been referring to them, I'm just going to say it now so that I can stop doing that. Ralph Hapshat is on the phones. Macy Struthers, who is a new character, is in the shop window N. And then the two cheerleaders, their names are Frankie and Brenda Drill, but we'll go into them later. And then the security guard slash cop that we've talked a little bit about, his name is Vance Parker. He's played by Christopher Malcolm, who was the original stage Brad from the Rocky Horror Show. But where else might people know him from, Leandra?
That's a good question. Why don't you tell me?
Probably his to people outside of the Rocky world, his most notable credit is that he was Rogue 5 in The Empire Strikes Back, which is the guy who finds Luke and Han Solo on Hoth, the frozen planet. So,
Oh, I didn't know that.
yeah, Star Wars fans will recognize this guy because that's a pretty significant moment.
Well, there's your problem there. I fight bitches.
Yeah. But yeah, he's the guy who found Luke and Han. There you go.
That's very cool.
Yeah, and
Good for him.
also again Rocky royalty because he originated the role of Brad. That's huge.
Also, I know of at least two people for whom Officer Vance Parker is their number one favorite role in shock treatment and desperately want to play this role anytime they like go to conventions. So
Oh,
it is a fan favorite.
do you know why? I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm struggling to remember a moment he has that like really sets him apart from other characters.
I don't personally know, but I have a couple of guesses. I
Okay.
think the fact that The costume stays just the same throughout the entire movie.
You ain't
It
kidding.
is like a medium-sized role that nobody is like
Yeah,
really, really fighting for. So if you want it, chances are you won't have to split it with more than one person.
that was my first thought, is it's an attainable goal.
Yeah, and he does some of the goofiest shit in the
Oh yeah.
entire movie.
I am not saying he's a bad choice or not a great role. I just think there's so many similar sized and similarly fun characters in Shock Treatment. I was just wondering why him specifically.
Yeah, and I don't know that I have a sufficient answer for you.
That's fair. What is your dream Shock Treatment role?
So I've played Nurse Ansalong, who we haven't seen yet. I've
Yes.
played her twice and enjoyed it well enough, but I think you know what my favorite one is, and we haven't met him yet.
Is it the same one I have? Oh, wait, no. It's not. I now know.
Yeah.
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 We have not met my dream role either. And both of our dream roles are ones that would have a lot of competition. So you probably won't see us playing those at a con anytime soon. Also because we are not auditioning for any cons.
Yeah, I don't know that I very much go in for going to conventions much anymore. I've gone to a handful of them, but it's been quite some time. I know that we have lots of listeners who go to the conventions and seem to really enjoy them.
Mm-hmm.
If you are one of those people and you really think that I'm missing out, definitely let us know in a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts on our new feed for Shock Treatment. So,
Well, I know we have at least one listener who goes to cons, and I think we can safely, at this point, congratulate her on her casting.
yes, congratulations to Rachel, cast member extraordinaire. She's not only a very delightful person within our personal orbit and on the Rocky cast, but she also has gotten some pretty choice casting at the
Mm-hmm.
upcoming 50th anniversary convention up in Rhode Island. And what is that casting?
She is playing Floor Show Janet, right? In
Yes.
Rocky. And then Macy Struthers, who we have again not yet discussed in great detail, but she is playing Macy Struthers in the Shock Treatment. Congratulations, Rachel. We will cut this if we've already done this once on the show and had to cut it because casting wasn't announced, but I think it's safe to say it will be announced by the time this episode's coming out.
One would hope.
Yeah. If not, I think we've got bigger problems. Anyway, just to quickly go over the actors of each person here then. So as we said, Christopher Malcolm, the original stage Brad, is Vance Parker, the cop. Jeremy Newson, as he was in Rocky Horror, is Ralph Hapschatt. Wendy Raybeck plays Macy Struthers. Did you know, Leandra, very, very good friends with Jessica Harper in real life?
I had no idea. Was that
Yeah.
because of this or later?
I
Or
actually
before?
I actually think it was before, and they do live near one another, or they did at one point. I knew that. And also at least once Jessica Harper was invited to a con and said she would only go if Wendy was going, and then she didn't, so they didn't go. So yeah, they're great friends. And then Darlene Johnson plays Emily Weiss, Janet's mother. And then Manning Redwood is the name of the actor who plays Janet's father. I have no idea if that's his real name, do you? It's crazy if it is.
I don't know off the top of my head. It sounds like such a made up name,
I
but
know.
of
And
course it's
especially for the character he plays, like it sounds like such like a manly, like fake manly man name.
it honestly sounds like a porn star name, like
A
a
hundred
gay porn
percent.
name.
100%. Which again fits with the character so well. I thought it was the character's name when I first saw this movie, which wouldn't have made any sense because he's Janet's dad, but you know. Harry Weiss, by the way, is the character's name. So yeah, and we'll talk about the cheerleaders more in the next minute, but for the record, the two cheerleaders are Sunita Renee, that is the black girl. She plays Frankie, and then Claire Toman plays Brenda Drill. That's the brunette who is 4'9" by the
She's
way.
tiny.
They're both very small women. I'll get into my theories on the cheerleaders next minute, but they're both very small women, but she's a really small woman. So yeah, that's the crew in the Denton sign. I just wanted to go over it so I can start referring to them by their character names instead of vague descriptions. But that's pretty much all I have for this minute, Leandra.
Okay. Yeah, I really don't have anything else. All I've got are a surprising number of callbacks.
Let's get into them. I have 0 callbacks.
All right. So at the beginning of this, when the crowd is continuing to take their seats, we see Brad and Janet for a little bit longer, and you can say, look, Janet still has the same purse. And you can counter with, looks like she's outgrown it because it's a much smaller white purse.
That's very funny, actually.
And then as the audience members begin filling the seats, you can say something to the effect of last one to sit down has to sleep with, insert funny name.
Very good.
Yeah. The sign that says it's gotta be DTV, you can say it's gotta be dumb television or it's gotta be a dumb sequel. The camera pulls back kind of slowly and turns upward until you see the Denton billboard sign, and you can say a lot of kind of recycled callbacks from Rocky, the Denton, the home of horniness, or that's not the home of happiness. It's, you know, any of the other ones just kind of riffing off of the Denton sign from before. Maybe not the home of happiness is in Janet's hat. No, it's 6 inches lower because it's not really pointing to a hat anymore.
Yeah.
But
That we know of.
as far as we know,
Could be a hat up there.
yeah. When you see all of the DTV logos, you can say either Disney television on acid or see, I told you it's a Disney movie now. When we first see Neely, her back is to us, and you can say, Neely, we're behind you. Hello, turn around. And then when she turns around, you can scream.
Because
Which
it's
is
very
always fun.
close.
Yeah. And what do you find in Janet's crotch? Neely says, you'll find happy hearts and smiling faces. When Harry says, you'll find a rambling rose and then clips the top of the shrub, I really like screaming like he's cut off my hand. So those are all of the callbacks that I have.
Well, okay, then I guess that just leaves me with one final question, Leandra.
Yes.
Does this bird belong to you? Sometimes one must fuck a dad.
Doo-dah, doo-dah. It's so good to laugh again.